Hello, my name is Tucker Bottomley. I'm 25 years old and I'm a transgender male. If you don't know what that means that I was born a girl, but after a certain amount of years I decided to live in society as a man. In this video I will be talking a little bit about my own experience with emotional abuse, my capacity as a witness to my friend's abusive relationship, and some thoughts and statements and some fears that I have about these topics. I was previously in an emotionally abusive relationship where I was shamed and guilted and pressured a lot. I won't go into too much detail about it because at one point it also does actually involve a family member. I'm afraid of talking about it, to be honest, because of the reaction that I get from my family for talking about it. If I were in a violent relationship, would I be welcome at a women's shelter? And if there were a men's shelter, would I be welcome at a men's shelter as a transgender person? About 5 or 6 years ago, a friend of mine who I was working with at the time, Mal, he had been dating his partner for about 6 months, I think, and he called me and said that he needed to show me something. So he came over to my house and went into the bathroom and he took off his shirt and he came out. He showed me basically his broken body. He had defensive marks all over his forearms and his entire torso was black and blue. I could barely see the pigment of his skin underneath it all. There was also one night about 6 months later after that experience when my friend called me and said that he was very afraid and he would really appreciate it if I went over and stayed at his house. So I went over that night. I was in the room next to them, and for about 3 hours into the very early hours of the morning I heard her go into a dissociative state and where she actually sounded like a child. You know, this was like a 40-year-old woman and she sounded like a child having a tantrum. I was honestly terrified in those moments that she would come into my bedroom and try to forcibly remove me from the house. The next morning when I came out of my room, she stopped me on the stairs and said, "Thank you for coming. I'm not doing so well." And the way in which she said it, her face looked different in a way I've never seen it before. She looked like a child who was ashamed, asking for forgiveness almost in a way. And it wasn't a few months later when my friend called me again and he said, "I need to get out of here." So I called a few of my friends and they went and they helped him move his stuff out, and then he actually ended up living with them. For the next year I witnessed my friend go through PTSD and anxiety and all the things that happen when you come out of a traumatic relationship. One thing that he and I have pondered in the past few years is, would I have reacted in the same way that day that he came to me? You know, if he had been female-bodied, would I have let him go home to that? Something else that I'm afraid of is sharing the fact that I'm working on this project with people I know, because I am a part of a community that there are a lot of feminists, and you know, a lot of the people that I know have a lot of trauma towards men and have a lot of aggression towards men, and I don't know how they would react to me being involved in this project. And it makes me really sad because, you know, when it comes to domestic violence, everybody's a victim. You know, nobody's exempt from that. What I really hope this documentary can achieve is not just conversation but action.